Without a doubt, Dying Light 2 is one of the most sophisticated zombie games ever developed. It's a full-fledged action RPG that combines a compelling plot with tempting parkour and combat action, as well as an open environment brimming with zombie slicing thrills. There's more to the game than meets the eyes. Here are all the things that fans didn't know about the game.
Just a reminder about our new giveaway. We're giving away a PS5 with a copy of NBA 2K22 and Madden 22. All you have to do is watch the full video, leave a like, comment the keyword hidden in the video, and make sure you're subscribed. It's that simple.
What's Dying Light famous for? It's always a good indicator when a game makes you feel more comfortable from the time it starts in some indefinable way. That's exactly what Dying Light 2 promises, especially for fans of the 2015 original. The franchise's two defining characteristics, parkour-style mobility and smooth, effective, and extremely satisfying melee action, have been there from the beginning, but have also undergone significant refining since the original Dying Light game. It's a bit weird that Dying Light 2 quickly puts you at ease, given that the world you're thrust into is everything but. The sequel takes place 15 years following the original viral epidemic featured in the previous game and depicts a world in peril in a way that echoes our own personal pandemic experiences. But the sequel isn't exactly the same as the original because there are plenty of new elements in the game that differ from the original. Now, the protagonist and new plot. Aiden, the protagonist of Dying Light 2, is a missionary, another of the few brave people prepared to walk outside the last walled cities. He is on a journey to discover his sister Mia, who is tormented by flashbacks of childhood experiments, and his investigation brings him to Villador. Aiden obtains a GRE access key on his trip to Villador. The GRE was a medical quasi-military organization that rushed into action to discover a treatment for the original game's virus epidemic in Harem, but was blamed for subsequent outbreaks and chased out of existence. That GRE key is the sole way to open anything GRE related in Villador. There's a lot of it. Next, Aiden meets Hakon. Aiden arrives in Villador after a run-in with the Renegades, a street gang group reminiscent of Borderlands, and becomes infected with the zombie virus. He's on the verge of being hanged because he lacks a biomarker, a bracelet that changes color when you're eager to transform into a zombie. Subsequently, he's rescued by a guy named Hakon, and now that he has the biomarker, the story begins. Now, the Fish Eye Pub. A day-night cycle is significant in this game, as it was in the original, because the infected prefer to sleep indoors during the day and wreak havoc on the streets at night. Aiden should use his parkour talents to navigate Villador through his rooftops after dark. The action takes place in Old Villador at first, but Aiden is keen to go to the city's skyscraper-studded central loop, where he's informed that Mia may be located in a pub called the Fish Eye. But there are a lot of activities to go through till he can get to the central loop. The Peacekeepers, PKs, whose commander, Lucas, was slain, control the metro tunnel that connects Old Villador to the rest of the city. Aitor, the PK's new commander, offers to let Aiden pass, assuming he can figure out who murdered Lucas. Aiden, on the other hand, becomes obsessed with completing tasks for the people who survived and who regard the PKs as tyrants. How's the sequel different from the original? Dying Light 2, Stay Human, quickly reveals itself to be a complicated, full-fledged RPG disguised as a simple zombie game, much more so than the original game. It has a bewildering number of systems that feed into one another and yet cohere in a near miracle manner. You can upgrade your abilities. Aiden can acquire inhibitors, which allow him to enhance his health and stamina basic values, the latter of which is essential for both battle and parkour. Completing story objectives, side missions, and other random activities littered throughout the city earns you XP that you can use to upgrade your parkour and fighting skills. The story is influenced by choices. The story twists, enabling you to make key decisions that might earn you favor or hatred from certain characters or factions. Players' decisions will shut off specific content, allowing for greater replayability that would otherwise be feasible. Some decisions, for example, may force the player to instantly alienate whole factions, rendering them implaceable foes. Those interested should know that throughout the the development, the team's golden rule is that gamers will lose at least 25% of the content via personal choices within the narrative. Changing city. Aiden may power up or unlock critical infrastructural structures such as water towers, windmills, electrical substations, and metro stations, and then allocate them to various factions, which will literally affect the surrounding environment. Survivors will lay cache mats on the ground, enabling you to jump from high altitudes without getting injured. While PKs will put up zombie traps, one of the major new elements in Dying Light 2 is the dynamic city, although it isn't really good, serving as more of a novelty than something that dramatically improves the gameplay. Craft Masters. Crafting materials, weapons, armor, and treasures would be among the loot that could be sold to merchants. Craft Masters will offer you blueprints for offensive and defensive weapons, including mines, Molotov cocktails, health kits, and immunity enhancers that prevent you from transforming into a zombie when exposed to UV light. Killing a large number of various sorts of zombies will earn you infected trophies, which you can exchange for blueprint upgrades with a Craftmaster. New moves. Aiden gains access to stronger weapons and armor as he progresses, and he gradually becomes a formidable zombie hunter. Aiden has several outstanding fighting skills, such as whirling around in a circle and destroying anything within reach of his blade. If you time the blocks right, you can leap over the closest zombie and deliver a powerful flying kick to every other zombie inside the area. Less weapons. Guns are tastefully missing, perhaps so the players can focus more on the parkour and melee combat aspects of the game. And the weapons that are included are made up of rusted machetes, street signs, cricket bats, and other such items. However, bows are also present. Fire, explosives, electrical, and poison effects can also be attained, but there's a lack of big, heavy weapons. There are other environmental instruments as well, such as gas canisters that you can grab, light, and then toss with gratifying precision. You can fly. The plot in Dying Light 2 is good until you reach the central loop and are handed a paraglider. It's amazingly nimble, and you can stay in the air for a long time by flying over air vents. In line with the rest of the game's finely tuned control system, you'll also obtain a grappling hook, which will take you to some of the game's most difficult story objectives, where you'll have to accomplish seemingly impossible parkour stunts. The cons. While Dying Light 2 has a distinct aesthetic style, it doesn't really knock your socks off. The narrative becomes a little rushed right at the end, with surprising twists and revelations around every turn. Aside from the fact that there are some enjoyably difficult boss encounters, Techland does an excellent job of weaving together seemingly unconnected themes, such as flashbacks to Aiden's boyhood being studied in a GRE laboratory, into a cohesive, convincing picture. However, the final outcome as a whole felt a little underwhelming to many gamers who got early access. Poor voice acting. If you had to make one big critique, it'd be that the voice acting, especially among the Renegade group, may be questionable at times, and the speech quality can be inconsistent. But thankfully, there's enough to do once the game's over. Techland sparked controversy by claiming that after the 20-hour plot, the game would take 500 hours to complete. Whether or not that's true, the point is that the game's environment and the zombie killing weapons you've been given are so appealing that if you're anything like this, you'll keep coming back to them. Lack of online gaming appeal. Pre-launch, Dying Light 2's main online play option was to hop into other people's games if they requested assistance, which has minimal appeal since why should you ask for assistance when chopping up the undead is so comforting. However, it'll be fascinating to observe how the game's online gameplay improves when the game is officially launched. It's not all bad though. It's an open world wonderland of zombie decapitating pleasures, and given that it also includes a solid branching narrative and all the elements of a cutting-edge RPG, Techland's sheer ambition has to be applauded, not to forget its ability to pull off something so intricate while maintaining a sense of coherence. Maybe too soon to bet on it, but Dying Light 2, Stay Human, might well be the most innovative zombie game ever. In comparison to its predecessor, Dying Light 2 places a greater focus on the storyline. This can be seen in the way Chris Avellone was hired as the title's writer, which is noteworthy because he's built a name in this field over the span of over 2 decades. Planescape, Torment, Fallout New Vegas, and Prey are some of the Avallone's previous projects. Is it the best zombie game ever? With Dying Light 2 Stay Human, Techland looks to be attempting to produce the best, or at least most comprehensive zombie game ever. Deep RPG elements, exquisite melee fighting and parkour, a day-night cycle that affects gameplay, a rich, branching story, and a paraglider helping making it the zombie game with just about everything. It's nothing short of a miracle that everything comes together so nicely. Thanks for watching. See you next time.